Okay, looks like we got close to 40 people on the call right now. So let's get started. I'd like to welcome everybody on the call tonight. I'd like to welcome our coaches. Tonight's meeting is Coach Ed Blankmeyer. He's formerly with St. John's University. He's now with the Brooklyn Cyclones. Mike Hampton is our new coach at St. John's University. Coach Rob DiToma is the head coach at FDU, our new coach at FDU. And Coach Darren Fenster. Darren is a AAA Boston Red Sox instructional coach. We got some interesting things to ask everybody. Let me unmute Darren. Coach Blankmeyer, you're already unmuted. Darren, unmute yourself. Rob, unmute yourself. And where are you, Mike? You're good. So, gentlemen, welcome. How are you?
Very good.
Yes, Coach Blankmeyer, why don't you introduce yourself and give us a little background as to what you got going on in your life right now.
Well, I wish we had something going on in our lives right now, but I guess I retired from St. John's after 24 years, and 15 years prior to that, I was at Seton Hall. So now I'm assigned as a what they call an extended spring training coordinator, and I have an opportunity to manage the Brooklyn Cyclones if in the fact that they start playing. So that's what I'm doing. Hopefully I'm doing something.
That's good. Mike Hampton, congratulations on your new position at St. John's.
Thank you, Nick.
Background on yourself there, Michael.
Yes, I've been at St. John's now 19 of those 24 years that Coach Blankmeyer was there, and just going on 19 here in August. So know the program. Before that was at West Virginia in the Big East Conference a couple of years, and then prior to that I coached started my coaching career at Clemson, which was my alma mater there. So
awesome. Hey, Coach Rob, FDU.
Hey, Nick. Yep. Thanks for having me. I'm a head coach at FDU now. I was at Fordham, where most of your players probably remember me from for the last 6 years at Fordham University as the assistant. Spent some time at Iona, Siena, and Temple University also. I was an assistant coach for 14 years, and this was my first year as a head coach before everything went down. But I appreciate you having me on today.
Well, congratulations on your new position. Well-deserved. You put your time in, and now you're moving up in the world. That's great.
Thank you.
So, Darren, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you go, Darren?
I'm here, Nick. You got me?
I got you, bud.
Yeah, good to be here, guys. And I wish, just like everybody else on this call, I wish that we didn't have the time to do this, but this is our, temporary reality right now. I'm actually the outfield and base running coordinator for the Red Sox right now, where I kind of oversee how we approach developing outfielders and base runners from AAA all the way down to our academy in the Dominican. And I've had a number of various roles with the Red Sox. I was a manager for 5 years, AA, A-ball, rookie ball. I was a hitting coach for a year. Before that, I spent 6 years coaching at Rutgers, where I had the pleasure of grinding it out on the recruiting road with Rob back in the Iona and Temple days, and Mike from his St. John's days where he's never left, and Blanky was a grinder too. So it's pretty cool to see Mike and Rob both get opportunities for all the hard work that they had put in. And prior to my 6-year stint at Rutgers, I was playing and I got hurt and had to figure out the rest of my life, and I didn't want to get a real job. So here I am.
Obviously. Awesome. That's great. Let's just jump right into this. Coach Blankmeyer, now that you are the manager of the Brooklyn Cyclones, what made you decide to coach pro ball after 4 decades of coaching college baseball?
Just a new challenge. That's what I wanted, a new challenge. And it was the college game is at its all-time best right now. It wasn't about anything about the college game. It's nothing about it. I love St. John's. I love the people. But if I was going to do something, I thought the time was right to make that move. And I had several opportunities prior to get into professional baseball, and I just thought this was the time was right. And I thought the new organization. What I mean by the new organization, the new influencers that are in the middle organization, starting with Brody Van Wagen and down to Allard Baird, down to Jared Banner. I felt that I could help and I could be of some assistance in their development plan. So I thought I thought this time. I just thought the time was right. And I'm a little disappointed we're not getting after it right now. So
Right. So my second question to you would be, what do you expect to be the biggest difference between pro ball and coaching baseball as far as strategy is concerned?
I'm still trying to figure that out, Nick, quite frankly. And I've had conversations with Darren and stuff. It's the college game, the playing of the game is not that much different. Obviously, the talent level is different. The way they go about their workouts is different. They have it's very, how should I say, territory. It's almost like a territory. Everybody has a responsibility that they're involved with. You have to stay in your lanes. I'm used to being a head coach, being involved in all areas, but quite frankly, you're not involved in all areas here. You're involved in your lane. The one thing that I can still get my fix on, it's typically when you're in a coordinator's role, and Darren can attest to that, you typically don't coach. You're either a coordinator or a coach. And I'm blessed with the opportunity to do both, to get my fix back and to stay into coaching somehow. So that to me is unique, and that's one of the reasons I accepted the position.
You think your strategy will change at all?
Pardon me?
As far as game strategy, you think?
You know what you try to do, Nick? You try to go out and win a ball game, and that's the way. That's the way I've always coached it. Now, you have a responsibility to develop players, and there may be players in your organization that you have to play. So you're not going to run the same guys out there all the time.
Right.
There's rules and regulations how you handle pitchers. You're very cautious about that. But again, in the roster, at a low A or the low A level is pretty transient. There's a lot of movement. So you're just getting the guys their reps. But every time you play in the game, man, you're getting after it.
Right.
Getting after it.
Very good. Michael Hampton.
Yes.
Congratulations on your new position as head coach of St. John's. You've
Thank
got
you.
some big shoes to fill now.
Sure do.
What adjustments are you going to need to make as head coach as opposed to when you were an assistant coach?
Well, I think that the biggest, being there for 19 years, obviously there was a system that Coach Blankmeyer and I had and that I want to continue. Now there may be some things and tweaks here and there, but the way that I would look at this is, and the way that I do look at it is, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. And so I think that the transition that we had went very well. Obviously we had started the season, we got in I believe 14 games, and and then the season got canceled. But looking at it from a head coaching position, just like what Coach Blankmeyer was saying, now because I was the hitting coach, did the recruiting, but then now I have to look at it from all facets, and as much as I would recruit some pitchers, but now we have to really take care and make sure that those are managed very well. And I think that the overall organization of the program is most important. You want to be able to have very short yet very detailed practices. You want to make sure that everything is running smoothly. You want to make sure that guys aren't sitting around. And that's really where I think the transition, from being an assistant to a head coach is basically your organizational skills have to be at, top notch.
Yeah, well, now you got your hands in everything.
Yes.
Now you're in everybody's lane. They got to stay in their lane.
That's right. Yeah.
So Rob, how are you, bud? Congratulations on your new position as well at FDU.
Thank you.
We had an RC player at FDU a few years back who led the NEC in home runs. His name is John Giacchis. Actually got his dad on the call. He still coaches in our program. He continued to pursue a pro career and is now looking to become a firefighter. Got a great education at FDU. He graduated in 4 years. We also have a new player coming to you Anthony Esposito. He's a catcher, played for us in our New Jersey squad. My question to you is, what is your plan for the program to be more consistent moving forward and to be able to compete at a high level in the NEC?
That's a great question. That's obviously the plan, is to be in there every year competing. But the vision for me, nothing's really changed at any of the places I've coached. I think you put your standards and goals in place, and then you got to live by them every day. And that's, I would say FDU, as you're probably alluding to, hasn't been this baseball power over the years. They've developed some good players and had a good run maybe here or there. But I wasn't walking into a situation where maybe things were in place. So it was a total revamp when I got there. We just basically, it started from day one. We're just trying to put a good coaching staff together, and I'm very proud of the staff we have. But mainly right now, it's just establishing the simple thing, like you said. It's getting these student athletes that we have to understand that we expect to do well. And I think that's the biggest thing you got to overcome when you're maybe taking over something that wasn't year in, year out expecting to win. It's instilling the idea that we're going to succeed. We had games this year, we won a couple of them where our guys really didn't even know how to react, because I don't know if they were expecting to get the last out and win the game. So we're trying to instill the idea that whatever you want to accomplish, we can accomplish through hard work and dedication. But the plan is, I think we have an exciting recruiting class coming in with one of your players there that you mentioned. I feel like there's some really good players here that maybe weren't getting quite the recognition, and I think we're kind of excited about what's coming back and excited about the class we're bringing in. So it's going to start there, but I'd say the number one thing we have to do is instill that attitude of, we expect to do well here. We expect to get you to whatever goals you're trying to accomplish individually while we accomplish our team goals.
Awesome. I'm sure you'll be successful at that. Darren, I can't get the image out of my head of you coaching third base, learning from one of the great baseball guys who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and I actually can say I loved him and still think about him all the time. Moose, Mr. Fred Hill. I couldn't tell the difference sometimes between you standing on third base and him being in the dugout. You guys are so similar in a lot of different ways.
That just means we're both short.
No, they're good people. With the new baseball amateur draft rule only being 5 rounds, how badly does that hurt the college baseball player now?
That's a good question. That I don't know how much you can look at it both ways. It limits opportunities, which sucks. You know, being on the professional side, you know, there are so many players that have had really, really good major league careers that have gotten drafted after the 5th round. Personally, I was a 12th round draft pick. So if I happen to be draft eligible this year, I'm not getting drafted. So in the respect of opportunities to play professional baseball, when you eliminate 35 rounds, I think that's a really tough pill to swallow. But just like with anything else, within this, you know, change, you know, which is only going to be for this year, as I understand it, presents opportunities. So for the limited opportunity to go to professional baseball, what this is going to do is this is going to make college baseball way, way better than it's ever been. Between guys who are not signing out of high school and then guys who probably would have signed out of college, now you have 2 groups of players who probably, you know, a good chunk of them may have played professionally. Now both of them are playing in college baseball, and that's going to raise the level of competition there. And when guys are playing against when guys play against better competition, that can only help guys, you know, in my opinion. And whether or not, if you're going to be a big leaguer, you're going to have to do really well against the best in the world. So if some guys' draft opportunity is delayed by a year, that year is now going to be played against a lot better than what may have been otherwise. So that's the way that I kind of look at it. From, you know, what may be professional baseball's loss is college baseball's gain.
Pretty cool. I didn't think of it that way. Coach Blankmeyer, This is a question from one of our players in the program. He's a 2021 grad. His name is AJ Vigliotti. He wants to know, how will coaching players that are being paid now, as opposed to student athletes, affect your coaching style?
I'm going to go about it the same way. I don't look at it, like that. Whether you're a professional or a young guy, you want to be coached up. These guys want to get better. They want to work hard. But the long and the short of it, it's about relationships, whether you are getting paid or not. How are you relating to that player? And is he willing to be coached? I think that's the big thing, is developing a relationship with that young man. Being that he's paid, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go about my business the same way I've always been. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to coach him up the best I can and try to get him to the level he wants to get to. That's what our goal is.
Very cool. Michael, I have a question from Michael Lange. He's a junior, 2021. How will you plan on recruiting players if you can't have any camps or showcases on the college campus this year?
That's a good question. I mean, basically what recruiting never stops. The way that we're recruiting right now and the way that we're seeing players is through emails, through videos, communicating with them on the phone. It's just passed recently that we can start to Zoom call prospective student athletes in certain situations. So, up until this point, we've really, because it was kind of a dead period, it's been mostly our communication with the players and making sure that they are maintaining what they need to, preparing for summer baseball. But the continuing, just like Coach Blankmeyer had said, it's about relationships with the players that you're looking at bringing in and making sure that it's the best fit for what you need to do and what you need to bring in. But as it is right now, we're kind of waiting to see what the NCAA, what the city and state decides on our camps at this point right now. None of our camps are canceled. Now, we anticipate that if the dead period, I think there's supposed to be a meeting on May 13th through the NCAA, but if that temporary dead period gets pushed back till the end of June, which they anticipate, then we're going to have to cancel a couple. Still hoping that our July and August camps and tournaments that we have on our campus, are still a go. But we're going to have to make that decision as it comes. But up until that point, then it's just emails, it's videos, it's Zoom calls. It's just staying in touch with these guys. I spoke to a 20, a 21, and a 22 today. And basically from all those, obviously the 20 and 21 I can call. The 22 had to call me. So making sure that we're going to abiding by the NCAA rules is most important.
Cool. Rob, this is a question from Chris Corchado, New Jersey boy, the 2021. What is the first thing you look for when you're recruiting a player? I know it's a generalized question, but obviously you must have something that you come to a park looking for, besides the position, I should say.
Yeah, when we go out, we're kind of looking. There's a lot of games and a lot of players going on, usually all at the same time. So you're always looking for separating factors. But honestly, when I started out, it was always the talent.
What is that separated factor, Rob?
Well, that's what I think, to me, I want to find guys that when I watch them, I don't have to question if they love the game of baseball or not. And I think that's something that baseball coaches can tell pretty fast. We've had a million camps, tournaments that we're at, or we're hosting, or we're running. And sometimes you look at some players and you wonder if their parents dragged them to the field and they look like they were forced to play the game. Now, I'm hoping whenever this whenever we're back out there, I think everyone's going to be excited. So we're going to have that for an extended period of time. But that's how every day should be treated. So one separating thing for me, it could be different for everybody, but college baseball, and then if you're lucky enough to move on to pro ball like Darren and Coach Blankmeyer, I mean, you got to love it. It's going to be a big part of your day each and every day. And if you don't have that love and that passion for the game, it just becomes a chore and a job. So truly, I mean, it's not that hard to find, in my opinion, if someone's enjoying the day and being out there. So that's something that can separate two similar players, in my opinion. It's just that approach to the energy they bring to a field.
I hope you guys that are on this call are listening, because I think that's a great answer to a pretty simple question. The love of the game. Good job, Rob. Thank you. Darren, tell us a little bit about your organization, your baseball organization, and how you're helping kids. I know you're involved in some sort of a clinic or some sort of a camp situation there.
Oh, you're not talking about the Boston Red Sox organization.
No, I'm not talking about that one.
No, I guess 8 years ago, I got sick and tired of people on Twitter basically spewing misinformation and creating a narrative that could be construed as, hey, if you don't throw 95, you can't play. If you can't hit 15 home runs, you can't play. And it was from these people in private instruction who were basically, they were their own brand. And, you know, if you challenged them, they just insulted you and they didn't want to have a conversation, and anything that made them look bad, they, you know, try to shoot you down, very much like the political climate of today. And I just got really frustrated by it, to the point where I'm like, you know what? I've worn a number of different hats in the game, from, you know, playing in college, playing professionally, coaching in college, and being a hitting coach, being a manager, all these different hats where I felt like I had a pretty good perspective that I just started putting out, you know, truth, like my observation of like, hey, very straightforward. I wasn't selling one way of hitting versus one way of pitching. And I think people appreciate the fact that, you know, there's not one way to do things. And I think that's one of the things, like, you know, what a lot of what I do outside of the Red Sox is working with other organizations and, you know, different mediums to kind of help grow the game. And we're at a place right now where you could go down a lot of dirty rabbit holes, and players are getting hurt by it. And what I mean by that is, even at the professional level, we can control what guys do for the 7 months that they're with us, because we're around them every single day. But then they go home for the off season and they're expected to get better, and they might feel like they need to go to see somebody. They need to hire a private instructor, like some of these major leaguers have done. And if they're not careful, we've had guys who have come back to spring training the following year and they ruined their careers because they made a swing change that they didn't need to. They tried to do something that was completely out of what their element should have been. And so I think that's a big part of the game that the guys on this call should really, really take note of, in the fact that every single player has specific skills that is unique to yourself. And I used to talk to our teams when I was a manager, where we really emphasize, and this is an organizational wide thing, we want guys to be who they are and for them to do what they do. And what I mean by that is, you know, I had Michael Kopech, for example, who was in the Chris Sale trade, and he's thrown 102, 103 miles an hour in a game. Well, that's his gift. So we want him to throw 102 and 103. But if we also had on that same roster a lefty thumber who couldn't break glass or couldn't even break wind, that, like, I don't want that guy to try to throw 102 miles an hour. I want that guy to try to throw 85 to try to get a guy out. And so the idea of comparing yourself to the guy next to you, or trying to be the next Mike Trout or whatever, all these people have certain gifts and you have your own, and you have to figure out, along with the help from your coaches, what is the best way to maximize your ability.
And the name of that program that you have is, I saw something up on your Twitter account. What's the name of that?
Yeah, it's called Coaching Your Kids. It's a fancy way of just me being me, but nobody else.
I love it. Coach Blankmeyer, explain how important it is for a coach to see both sides of a player. And what I mean by that, obviously you want to come to the park and you want to see a kid get 3 or 4 hits. But when you get there, you also, maybe the second time around, you kind of like want to see how he's going to do and react to the failure of the game. Explain to me what your thoughts are on that.
Well, in this climate, the way guys are committing so early, that's very difficult to do because maybe you get one shot at the kid. But to really get to know a person and how they play, I think it's extremely important. Heck, I'd like to go out and see a guy a couple times, and I want to see all sides to that player. But I think the true sign of a real good player is how he reacts to adversity and how he comes back from it. Does he hang his head? Okay. What kind of teammate he is? The intangibles that, ordinarily it's very difficult to see. And I think that's an indication of how well you can coach that person, to me, more than anything else. This game is easy when everything is going good. And when you go out and watch a player perform and he has one of those days, he's 3 for 3, and, well, he's going to be excited. But if you can walk away from a ballpark when a kid is 0 for 3, struck out twice, and come out and say, gee, I like that kid, then I think you got something there. And I've walked away from some guys on bad days, and I liked them. And I think more than anything, from a recruiting perspective, if you can walk away from a guy and see some good when a player fails, okay, then I really think you have something. So trying to see both sides of a player, how he interacts, how he competes, outside of the raw skills, and I know Rob talked about what his passion for the game. I mean, this game is unlike any other because you don't play it like basketball, football once a week. You're playing the darn thing every day, just about, especially in pro ball, you're playing it every day. There's going to be highs and lows. So how you manage those highs and lows will determine how consistent you are and how successful you're going to be. If you want to be a good ball player, okay, you better damn well be consistent, and you better bring it every day as best you possibly can. So I like to see both sides of the picture of a person if I possibly can. And I certainly like to walk away from the ballpark anytime a kid is having a bad day. And if I walk away liking him, then I really feel good about the kid.
One of my highlights of with you is many years back when you were recruiting Billy Ryan. He played for you. I think he got drafted by the Tigers, correct?
Yep.
And I forget what field we were at, and you wanted to see what kind of player he was when no one was watching. There was no one at the game. It was a cold, windy day. There was a bathroom that was down the right field line. And I was coaching first base at the time at Zavarian, and I looked down the right field line and I seen Billy like goofing around a little bit in the dugout. And I looked down the right field line and I saw you peeking out from behind the wall, kind of like wanting to see how he was going to react if you weren't there. Is that something that you've done in the past, or was that just a one-time thing?
You think about it, anytime there's a tournament, these kids are going to hustle. These kids are going to hustle all the time. It's try. I used to like to sneak attack a lot of guys. Just come in and watch a guy play. When nobody knows he's watching, that's when you find out if he's living it right, playing it right. Okay. Right. Anytime there's a tournament, these guys are going to hopefully they get excited. They're going to hustle. They're going to get down the line for you. But when nobody's watching, that's a true test. It's the same thing as a player as you develop, okay? But, when I'm watching you, you're working. Well, how much are you working when I'm not watching you?
Right.
That's the separator of a good player. So.
Cool. Very good. Mike, Thomas Remen is a variant player, 2022 grad. He's really interested in St. John's. He wants to know what the requirements to receive an academic scholarship are. That's part one of his question. I'll repeat the second one. And do you offer a physical therapy nutrition major? And if so, what is your opinion on the school's program for that?
Yeah, to answer the first part of the question, you know, from an academic scholarship, usually what we're looking for, well, and the university, it depends on, you know, I mean, our university will give scholarship with a 3.0 and 1,000. Now, depending on, you know, you could get that academic scholarship to be able to receive as a combination of academic and baseball scholarship, then you would have to meet one of three criteria. One is that you would have to have a 3.5 GPA. But one of these three. One is a 3.5 GPA. The second is if you have a 1270 or better on your SAT, or a 105 combination on your ACT. That's number two. And then number three is in the top 10% of your class, which not a lot of schools anymore have that percentage. If you meet one of those three criteria, then any academic money that you receive will be combined with your athletic money. Now, if you don't come on any athletic money, any academic money that you receive, then you can keep. So it just depends that way. Now, as far as to be specific on physical therapy and nutrition major, at this point right now, we do not have physical therapy, but there is, I mean, we actually have had former players of ours, a guy named Chris Aninos, who is now a physical therapist. He came, he was a biology major, and then I think wound up going down to Old Dominion for his post-grad in physical therapy, and now works in a practice as a physical therapist. We do on staff have a nutritionist. So that helps, that's with our athletic training. Now in the future now, and again, with all this coronavirus and everything, what they're saying, we were going to have a nursing school. We were looking at getting athletic training as a major. These are probably on hold at this point, just to make sure that everything is okay. But these are some majors that would fit into that science, science major.
Oh, sorry, got people trying to ask me for passwords while I'm doing all of this here stuff. They're still trying to get in on the call. Real quick, I got a nice question for you. Last year we spent some time together throughout the summer. Everyone in the program knows that Jack Tucker is going to play at St. John's, and I want everybody in the program to really listen to the answer to this one. What did you see in him that made you keep coming back so many times? And Coach Blankmeyer, if you want to jump in on this too, because you were involved with this as well at that time. And the reason why I asked this question is because I thought Jack did a pretty good job, and I would like to see more of our players react to the recruiting process somewhat like he did.
Right. Well, I can easily say the reasons that impressed me were already mentioned here in this broadcast. You know, the hard work, the dedication, the it factor, obviously the physical skill, you know, just the baseball IQ. When you go out and you watch somebody, are they in the right spots at the right time? Are they playing the game hard? You know, those things were pretty easy to see in Jackson, and you know, obviously he's got physical skill, but it's about more than that. Just for an example, I'll tell you a story on two guys, and one including Jackson. Now, as much as you say that he's a worker and everything, I mentioned this to you the other day, Nick, when I was on the phone with you, that every week, just about every week, maybe not every week, but most weeks, I get texts from Jackson of him hitting off a tee, because that's what you can do at this point. And sometimes it's at 10:30 at night where I can barely see him. I know he can barely see the ball in front of him, and he's just taking his cuts and getting his work in. That to me is dedication. The things that have been talked about here when somebody else isn't looking, that's dedication. My second story that I have is another one of our commits. He's a 2020, and this shows creativity. So this is a kid that's a little less fortunate than most, doesn't have a whole lot of money, was walking down I'm sorry?
You mentioned this to me the other day as well. Go ahead.
was walking down the street, and one of his neighbors was throwing out dumbbells. So he actually grabbed those dumbbells off of the street in the trash, and then he sent me a video, and it had his video or his dumbbells right in front of him. He set up his camera, went back and sat down on a car ramp that he had set up with a seat cushion on top of that car ramp, and threw up those dumbbells. And that's what he did for his lift that day. And to me, that's creativity, and that's just getting after it.
Cool. Coach Blankmeyer.
I look for athleticism when I go out and look at a guy all the time. And it starts with skill level. Let's be honest here with everybody here. But what I liked about Jackson is that he was an athlete, and he could run and throw. You don't see that quite often nowadays. And I like the fact that he was a football player. I like the multi-athlete nowadays, but you don't see it quite as much as you like to. And along with that, as we all do, and when Darren was doing it in the college level, and Robbie, you do a lot of homework, because you talk to the sources. So Nick, we call you up all the time. We're always asking around. Even local para I talk to once in a while to find out what's going on. But, you got to network with the guys that know baseball and know that player. I think that's extremely important. So a combination of, you look at the guy's skill level, okay, you look at his athleticism, and then you do your homework. That's how we got onto Jackson.
Cool. And I hope he serves you guys well for the next 4 years. So actually, he's got another year of high school eligibility. Hey, Rob, your home field has some close dimensions. Will that make you look for power type hitters? And what needs do you have for the future?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but I don't think the field, in the Northeast, you play maybe, if you're lucky, half your schedule at home, but probably not. So I think we'd be doing our program a disservice if we recruited just based on our home field. So now I stick to what we always did. We looked for athletic players, and if anyone knew anything about me, when I was at Fordham, we had some pretty good base stealing teams. We led the country twice in a row. And when I got the job here, people were saying, well, with that ballpark, you're not going to want to steal anymore. You're not going to want to run into outs. And I said, well, we did that at Fordham because it was our way to score one more run than the other team. So if that's the way we're going to do it here, then that's the way we're going to do it here. But I think, like Coach Blankmeyer said, I love just multi-sport athletic people that can play multiple positions. So to me, if you can play every position on the field, you're worth the value of 8 people defensively. So I really do believe in interchangeable parts. I think pro ball's kind of gone to that. If you look at some of the ways the Dodgers maybe or the Cubs lineups, they kind of change all the time. And I think there's value because you utilize more of your roster. You can get people in there some people are really dead set on, I want my 9 best guys, and that's my lineup day in, day out. And there's value in that too because they get the most at bats. But I think my goal is to utilize an entire roster, and to use that, you need people that can do multiple things. So that's my overall philosophy. Recruiting-wise, I mean, we're just looking for guys who can pound the zone, throw strikes. We got to know at our park sometimes there's going to be a home run. And the more athletic people we have on the field, and I think on a smaller field, we can condense the outfield with speed and give up less hits and less bloops. And if they earn it, it's a home run. But mainly athleticism and the ability to play multiple positions are two things I really look for in a player.
Oh, and at FDU, what are the requirements to get academic money and the SAT, ACT, and the GPA? What's up?
So, yeah, it changes kind of every year. They kind of, it might be lowering it. I don't know. The current environment might change some standards for a lot of schools, but as currently, if you have above a 3.2 GPA, the testing becomes optional. So that's a perk of FDU. If you're one of those people that struggles with tests but does really well in the classroom, it wouldn't be looked at here if you're above a 3.2 as far as your testing. And academic money does start around that 3.0 range, and then there's just certain tiers you hit. So you can get anywhere from $11,000 of academic scholarship money, 16,000, 20, 25. The most they offer is 30,000, which is about 75% of a scholarship, and that's if you have a 4.0. And we actually do have one student coming in who is the valedictorian of his class next year, who's almost has his whole tuition paid for just based on academics. So there is a lot of value in that. It's a far cry and opposite of my days at Fordham, where you basically had to have a perfect score to get any type of academic money. So there is opportunity there. But like I always say, if no matter the school, the higher your test scores, the higher your GPA, it's going to open up more doors for you and allow more options for you. It's not a cliche that people keep telling you. In our world of baseball, the academics play a major role in what schools can do for you.
And if someone gets more academic money, no baseball money, are they less valuable to you as a baseball player or as valuable to you as a baseball player? Because some people have that misconception that if I don't get baseball money, they can easily cut me and get rid of me.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's just not true. I mean, other coaches can speak for that, but from my experience in college baseball, no matter your situation, if you're not holding up your end of the bargain, being cut can happen, no matter whether you're on whatever amount of money or not. So it is a true year in, year out situation where that's one of the things that's really kind of been irking me in this time, where they gave people eligibility back, and now I'm seeing tweets and everything like, oh, you better be ready to fight for your spot. Well, you needed to be ready to fight for your spot year in, year out at this level of baseball. But no, to me, and every coach has their own opinion, but to me, once you get on campus, I could care less what it took to get you here and what you got. We're all judged on our results on the field, and I think a coach would really not be doing his job if he's playing someone just based on maybe a offer you gave him 3 years ago over the guy that's just going to perform better on the field. So to me, you're going to earn it every day, and we don't even talk on our staff anymore. Once you're here, I could care less how much money you're on or not. It's going to be based on your performance from day one on campus.
I'm sure everybody else on the call feels the same way, and most college coaches that I talk to have always said the same thing. So I'm glad the young men on the call can hear that directly from the Division I coach's mouth. Darren, most minor league players are very successful in high school and also in college. How do you find coaching them in the pros?
There's a lot of different branches to that, where everybody is good, and as they get in, when they get drafted, every high school kid was the best kid on their high school team. Every college kid was probably one of the best players on their team, one of the best players in their conference. And so you have this pool at the bottom of pro ball of new players coming in that everybody is used to being really good, and now everybody is at that level or better. So kind of circling back to the question you asked about just how college baseball is going to be affected by the 5-round draft, that's the environment that professional baseball is, where you have to constantly perform and excel against the very best year in and year out just to have a chance to spend one day in the major leagues. And then if you're able to get, 2-3 years in the major leagues and get to free agency after 6 years, like the attrition of that backfill of talented players and the guys who are at the very top of their game, there's just constant competition to try to knock the next guy off. And, I think you see that element every Sunday night right now watching Michael Jordan in The Last Dance, and the mindset that guy had. These shows are taking me back to my childhood, but being a coach now and being able to hear him talk about the things that made him successful, like I'm even more in awe of him now because of the way that he handled himself. And, he's at the elite of the elite level. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Mike Trout, like these guys are uber talented, but it's also, they have elite mindset, elite attitude, and elite work ethic. So that's what guys are up against. It's, to Rob's point, once guys come into pro ball, we don't think about what guys sign for. Now, money and prospect status absolutely plays a part in opportunity. Like I had a player who signed for $30 million. And he was going to get every opportunity in the world to get to the big leagues. And he's gotten there with the White Sox. But I've also had guys who signed for $1,000 who have gotten to the big leagues, and their opportunity, it was like almost as if that kid fell flat on his face in his first season, he was going to get released. But both guys had opportunities that they took advantage of. And once you get into, behind the walls of professional baseball, it truly does become like, hey, you have to perform. And all money does and all prospect status does is it just keeps you in the game a little bit longer. But the idea of wanting to be the best of the best is what I think continues to motivate guys and gets guys to the big leagues and keeps guys in the big leagues. And just for the fact that they have this idea that they never arrive. That's what the best players in the world do. They're never satisfied where they are, and they're always constantly trying to push to be the very best. And if they are the very best, they're pushing to have some separation between them and number two.
Cool. Coach Blankmeyer, Anthony Belisario is a 2023 freshman. He wants to know the pros and cons of social media when it comes to the recruiting process. From your days of coaching at the college level, what were your thoughts on that?
I'm not a big advocate of social media. I think some of the groups out there, PBR, Perfect Game, if they highlight you, that's fine. It maybe allow you to open a door to something, but I think the coach would appreciate more of the direct contact versus the social media contact. If you understand where I'm coming from. I wasn't the type of person that's going to go and recruit off of social media. I just didn't think that was the right thing to do. I was more, I would go directly to a coach. I would go directly to a coach. If I find out something about a person, I want to go to the source. So maybe it's a bad question to ask a person like me. I'm not a big advocate of social media and the recruiting platform. Just not.
Yeah, but I feel the same way, and from a lot of people that I talk to, I think a lot of these here kids have a misconception of, let's say, for instance, Instagram or Facebook or any of their other silly social media things that they want to go on and just post that they got 4 hits one day, and then run to the computer and see how many people have checked in to see if they recognize that they got 4 hits that day. I don't think, somewhat, I'm on the same wavelength as you. I don't think that plays into getting recruited. I think the most important thing is, and I think you agree with me, is passing the eye test. Yeah.
I mean, again, if you're that good, they'll see it. Promoting yourself through social media, personally promoting yourself, like meaning posting on Instagram, posting on Twitter, your accolades. I don't know whether the coaches would really like that. I mean, now I'm not, if you have a service that promotes you, that's cool. or PBR, something like that will highlight you, maybe shoot out a short video at a place that you attended, and they put a little highlight. I get that. But, self-promotion on social media, I kind of, from a coaching perspective that sat in the collegiate chair for several years, I wasn't a big fan of it, quite frankly.
Greg Bruno wants to ask a question of you as well before I move on to Mike. Greg Bruno's a 2023 player in our program. I think you know Gregory. He's a real good young player. He wants to know the difference in the competition at the high level of college, meaning, Division I, could be the Big East, could be the SEC, could be the ACC, and professional baseball. Now, I know you hadn't got the opportunity yet this year to get on the field, but I'm sure you know the difference because you've coached so many guys that have gone on to play professional baseball. So I guess the question inside this question is at the college level, what is it going to take to get to that pro level? What's the difference?
Well, first of all, obviously it's a skill set. And when you see high school kids that are drafted, and Darren would probably be better served to speak because he's coached at all levels, you see they could be outstanding high school players that are top drafts. They have a real difficult time adjusting to the level of play at the professional level. It takes them some time, okay? Because at that lower level in professional baseball, you'll get a very good high school player, but then you'll get an experienced college kid that, a pitcher especially, will carve that guy up because he knows how to spin the baseball and he has better command. And you're also talking about a couple year difference in age level. So you have a real difference in age and experience and, quite frankly, skill level at times. But and you'll see it, and even playing at a high level of Division I baseball, if you're a real good high school player, some are able to play right away, and some have to wait their turn. Everybody's different. Everybody adjusts quickly or quick. It's on a case by case basis. But I just find from a professional level, and just seeing it for a couple of days, I've seen guys that I knew in college that are at a pretty good level now, but they paid their dues. They've gotten a lot of at bats, and experience in playing at a certain level is going to make you better. And some will adjust to the game quicker than others. So it's a case by case basis.
Right. Coach Hampton, you went out, you recruited. You're going to be sending your boys out there to recruit. They're all over the place. They bring back information. They get up on your board in your office, calling that recruiting board, draft board, however you want to look at it, whatever you want to call that board. Explain how that board gets switched around as the process of recruiting takes a shape, takes a life on of its own.
No, that's a good question. It's ever changing. You have again what was mentioned earlier. I mean, recruiting is going younger and younger basically each year. So and it never stops because you have 20s that guys may get drafted, guys may leave. You got 21s, same thing, 22s. Guys are 2024s that are committing right now too, which I think is absolutely crazy. And because how do you know 4 years from now if they're going to be a decent player or not, from a physical or mental standpoint or whatever. Maybe they're more physical than others right now. But that board, it's ever changing. I mean, Coach Brown, Coach Bethea, and myself, we're going over constantly with guys of what our needs are. Okay. Going over the rankings of each guy, what are we looking for? Are we looking for the speed? Are we looking for power? And then we'll work them accordingly and by position. So those boards, I mean, it may be most of the time we're going to look straight up the middle. So we're going to look at catchers, we're going to look at pitchers, we're going to look at middle infielders, and we're going to look at center fielders, and then kind of branch out from there. Okay. So, I mean, I think that there were many times where, well, I can remember one specifically where we had a high school shortstop at every one of our infield positions, including first base. So, you know, it's usually that, you know, your shortstops, your catchers, your pitchers, and your center fielders, those lists are longer than obviously your peripheral positions. Now, if you need a specific corner guy that hits for power but doesn't run, and maybe doesn't defend quite as well, but he, you know, you project him as a 15 to 20 home run guy, then he may go a little bit more toward the top. Same thing with outfield.
Right. So let's say we have a player, a Richmond County player, who's very, very high on your list, and you got him on the top of your list on that draft board as your shortstop. And then underneath there, you obviously have another player in case that kid decides to go someplace else. Explain that process right there and how important it is for kids to have the social skill and the ability to communicate with you all the way through this process, because that can change your interest in a player that could be third on your list in that shortstop position could change instantly.
Yeah, it could
based on somebody else's decision.
Right, it changes all the time, and again, it was mentioned is having that relationship with your players. Now, once you see a kid and the talent, you know, you feel is there, now you have other things to figure out. What are their academics? You know, for us, you know, that's one of the first questions that we ask. You know, where do you see that player on that board? I mean, if you got two individual or two kids and two shortstops that are the same player, okay, physically, and where you think that they're the same talent level, if one is a better student, okay, that may receive some academic scholarship and we might be able to combine his academic, we may go for that guy rather than the guy that has a 2.0 GPA, just because that good student will spread out our 11.7 scholarships. Now, if nobody, I'm sure a lot of guys understand that, but you know, Division I schools are only allowed 11.7 scholarships. Well, with a max of 35 players on your roster and 27 of those 35 on scholarship, you have to spread that 11.7 scholarships out. So from our standpoint, we're looking for those guys that are academic, you know, first.
Cool. Hey, Rob. Patrick Burns, he's a junior, middle infielder, third baseman, wants to know how important it is to stay in touch with a school that you're interested in, and how should he go about finding out from that coach, that relationship, to see if that play, you know, what kind of position you need for the position that player plays. So let me read that to you again. How important is it for you to stay in touch with the school you're interested in, and how should I go about finding out if they're looking for a player who plays my position? Is it a straightforward question to you and on a call? How does that work?
I think initially the best, and it could be different for everybody, but the best way I like to be contacted is through email, because I really do. I mean, I've been around some coaches who get bombarded by emails, and it's hard, but I do try to get back to every email that I get. So that's, I think, the best way. I mean, lately, to touch on social media, I feel like I don't even know what it's called, my DMs, I guess, on Twitter get bombarded and all this stuff. Or I guess I'm a little old school, and I'd like for you to email me. I don't know how old school that is, but
No.
Just an introductory email. And listen, for everyone out there, I think coaches are lying to you if you send a 5-page email that you think they're reading every word of your email. We get a lot of emails. So short, to the point, please say who you are, the position you play, and we need to know your grad year, because sometimes that's left off, and the year you're going to graduate high school determines what type of communication we can have just based on NCAA rules. So I need those to be right there in the first couple sentences: your name, your school, your position, probably your summer program and your grad year. And then you got to wait for a response. I mean, I wouldn't send 8, 9 emails without hearing a response, but hopefully a coach gets back to you and you can open up a back and forth dialogue. Anytime you have a short video clip, that helps in communication. But once you've established that hello, back and forth introduction, I think anytime you have new information is the rate of whether you should email. Now, that's hard right now because there's not many updates on what's going on with your schedule or playing. But normally you would have a week where you have a game or two. I pitched on Saturday. Here's how it went. But just saying, hello, how's the weather? I think that's going to start getting ignored. So you got to just have information, whether it be on the field or even academically. Hey, I have a test score update, or here's my latest transcript. But I always tell kids, never feel like you're bothering us. Just as much information as possible you can send to us that's new, and we file it away. And then when we can see you play, we see you play. But never feel like you're bothering someone until someone tells you they're not interested in you. You never really know if they're not interested in you. So just be aware on the player's end that there's a ton of emails that get sent to coaches, and it might take some time to get back. But, I mean, a good way is in summer ball, usually there's an upcoming tournament. You want to send your schedule on a Tuesday that we're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those are all good things. I wouldn't expect 100% response rate at all times, but stay in contact because, as you guys know, when you go out and play, there's a million kids and a million games. It's easy to lose track of even players that you liked when you saw them one time. So stay in contact, and I wouldn't go call coaches until the coach has told you his number and told you to call him. Don't just text somebody on their phone because you found their phone number somewhere, things like that, unless you've worked through maybe a coach like yourself and you've set up the communication in that manner. But stay professional with the reaching out. Make sure you remember you're not, on Snapchat with a friend when you're reaching out to coaches. Try and keep it.
I was just going to mention that to you. It's funny that you say that.
I think to me, that's important. If a kid, it's easy to tell. I get it. You're going to reach out to a lot of schools early on in the process. We understand that. But you could personalize something. You can make sure it's a school you're interested in. Definitely do some research on the coaches and the school before you just blindly say, hey, I'm interested in FDU, and there's no reasoning behind it, because that becomes very frustrating and easy to fall behind some other guys that may have genuinely done some research and have genuine interest in our school.
Cool. Great answer. Darren, I have Maximus Cruz. He's a junior outfielder. Maximus Cruz. I love that name. Every time I ask a question for him, I say the same thing. What does a coach like to see? What does a coach not like to see from an outfielder when he's getting recruited? Now, I know you've been disconnected a little bit now from college ball, but just give me some of the things that you do not like to see. It could be on the field, it could be in a parking lot, it could be how he communicates with other people. Just give me your thoughts on that.
Everything that we do and that we teach, it all starts with effort. And so probably my biggest pet peeve on a baseball field is when guys don't run hard down the line. On the outfield side of things, if a guy is lazy going after a ball, because the outfield and base running roles are intertwined in a way where on the base running side, we're trying to exploit the things that we're trying to tell our outfielders to never do. So as a base runner, if we see a guy who's half-assing it to the ball, that might be an opportunity for us to get an extra 90 feet or to go first to third. If there's an outfielder that busts his ass to get on the ball hard, well, he's going to make more plays. He's going to make the runner, make the coach make a decision on whether or not to send the runner to take that chance just by running hard after the ball. It has nothing to do with their skills, has nothing to do with their arm. Effort is an easy way to shut down an extra base, and effort is a decision. Every single outfielder can go hard after a ball. And there are so many different parts of the game where, sometimes as an outfielder, you are on an island to yourself and you get no action in 9 innings. And that doesn't mean that you are not doing anything. And one of the ways that we can tell if our guys are locked into the game is if they're backing up bases, if their pre-pitch is on time. And when I say pre-pitch, I mean that's what we call like the ready position, or what some people call prep steps. When there's 150 pitches in a game, if you could lock in for 150 pitches in a game, expecting every single one of them to be hit to you, you're in a really good spot, as opposed to someone who's just sitting back on their heels and they're not backing up bases, or they're not going hard after a ball, or whatever the case may be. When guys aren't doing the things that they could control doing every single day, like the things that I've mentioned, that's the stuff that as a coach and as an organization, we really don't stand for. And when they come in as drafted players, we teach it to them. We teach it to them over and over again. We don't get mad at them, but if they're into like their second year or their third year and they've heard it over and over again, at that point, there's no excuse for not knowing that they have to go hard after ball, or not knowing they're supposed to be backing up a base. That's a decision that they made to not focus on the job at hand. And, in our mind, when guys are constantly in the habit of doing what's expected of them from a controlled variable, then we're in good shape. So those are the things that probably frustrate us more than anything, when guys aren't doing that.
How long have you been coaching pro ball now?
This is my 9th year.
Okay, that's awesome. One organization, or you've moved around?
Played with the Royals, then went to Rutgers to coach, and then now only as a coach, I've only been with the Red Sox.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to give you a chance to flex your muscle there a little bit. Being with a successful organization like the Boston Red Sox, who were your best players who you had coached that had made the major leagues? Anybody?
Well, best player and most talented player, like there are a couple different branches of this. So talent out of like just athleticism. So I mentioned Michael Kopech. Like, I've never seen a pitcher with an arm like this dude's. Like, the ball, no ball has ever come out as easy and as hard as the ball came out of Michael Kopech's hand. On that same team was Yohan Moncada, who was the kid who signed for $30 million. And he's the best athlete I've ever seen on a baseball field. Now, he was not a good baseball player in A-ball. And when I mean not a good baseball player, I just mean he didn't know how to use his skills to be consistent, to be a piece of that puzzle every single day. But he could do things on a baseball field that nobody else could, in terms of running and the ability to move, and just his athleticism was on a whole different level. And those two guys have both since become major leaguers. But the best player who I had ever had on one of my teams was Andrew Benintendi, where he was with me for like a month and a half the year he got drafted. And he made everything look effortless and easy, and he was the best player on the field every single night from the day he joined us. And he was up in the big leagues not even a year later. He was just a very polished college player who just always really found success and didn't really struggle until he got to the big leagues. So to see a guy like that, relative to a guy who might take a couple years to get through the system, who might have to stop for 2 years in A-ball just because it's that much of a struggle. Every single kid's path is completely different. And that's why, like, when guys just, hey, get better every day. Each individual guy, get better every day. Don't worry about the guy next to you. Don't worry about who's getting a scholarship. Don't worry about who just got called up. Don't worry about who just got sent down. If you can work on just having tunnel vision within yourself and controlling what you can, so you can look at yourself in the mirror saying, all right, I took advantage of today. Everything that you want to have happen will take care of itself.
That's a great answer. It's awesome. Coach Blankmeyer, I have 2 questions for you. Give us your prototypical player that Ed Blankmeyer looks for in a player, and what are your top 2 moments in your coaching career?
Wow. Ooh. Top 2 moments in my coaching career. I'm going to go work backwards here. I'm from a parent standpoint, having an opportunity to coach my son for 4 years
Tied.
To me was, probably the top thing that I ever did in my college coaching career, because as you guys all know, having just to have your son with you every day, to me was something special. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I thoroughly missed that. I mean, and the other thing is,
he's with the Milwaukee Brewers now, right? As a scout?
he's scouting for the Brewers. Yeah.
Right.
The other thing is, it's not one thing, but, doing it as long as I've been doing it, not quite as long as Lopaparo, but pretty close. Just the relationships you build. That's what's important to me, and getting to know the kids, and doing something that influenced their life in some respect to help them along to become a better baseball player, and in a lot of cases, or just become a better person. I think that's what we're in this game for, is to build better men. And we're doing it on the ball field, something we certainly have a passion for. But everybody's not going to be a major league ball player. But hopefully everybody can be a major leaguer as a person. That's for sure.
What kind of player was Paddock?
Pardon me?
What kind of player was Paddock?
I mean, Paddock is what we call a baseball player. Like just like Darren Fenster was. The baseball players, they did everything well, okay, and they did the little things. And we as coaches, that's what we strive to do. We try to build the complete baseball player. I know everybody is different, but ultimately, you want a bunch of guys that know how to play the game the right way, respect the game, and value the game the way you as a coach value the game. And just as Darren was influenced by a guy named Freddie Hill, I had Mike Shepard, and everybody that's coaches. Nick, I'm sure you have a bunch of guys that influenced your life. I think those are the memories. Those are the things you kind of cherish as you move through your coaching career.
You were one of them, Eddie. Eddie, you were one of them. You were one of the guys who I look up to. I always thought you were not only a gentleman, but a real, still are a real good baseball guy.
Well, you want to do what's right by the kids, and you want to teach the guys to play the right way. I mean, I don't care where this game is going as far as style. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of things on Twitter, but the game is the game. And if you really watch the game, you can learn a lot from the game. The game really hasn't changed. Maybe the terminology has changed, but we all strive as coaches to create good baseball players to play the game the right way.
Cool. Coach Hampton, real quick, as a coach, what makes you tick, and how competitive are you?
What makes me tick? Winning. And that should answer the second question too. Very competitive. Doesn't matter, what I'm trying to do. I have a 7-year-old son right now that I don't know that he's learning how to lose first, and when he beats my wife and whatever it is, that's the only time that he's winning against me. But I think that, a lot of it, just like what Coach Blankmeyer said, it's the winning, it's the competitiveness, it's the preparation. You want good people around you. I mean, between your staff, your trainers, your sports information people, you want to surround yourself with good people that are all on the same page. I think that's what is most important. I think we all want to win games. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. But making sure that you have good people around you, I think is most important. I'm kind of boosting his ego, but Coach Blankmeyer, I was there for 19 years of his 24, and I had other opportunities to go to other places, but there was, there was a true love for the program and a true love for him. We were all on the same page. We love to win, and we love to be competitive, and that's why, I was in different situations prior to that, and I said I would never leave unless I 100% felt that I was in that same situation.
Cool. Hey, Rob. Often I get criticized when a player in our program is heavily recruited by a college coach because it looks like I'm spending more time with him and not with everyone else. Please explain the process of how you need to communicate with me as a third party until it's time for you to be able to speak directly to that player. Get me off the hook here, kid.
I'd be glad to help. Well, like I said before, I mean, if you're younger than a junior, and Coach Hampton mentioned this earlier, I mean, we can't reach out to you. We can't call you. So usually you got to work through the coach, you know. So if we go to you and you tell us about the player and you can organize a way that we can get in contact with the player. So that's the first thing. But I think Coach Blankmeyer mentioned it, but all of us, recruiting, scouting, coaching, you're always going to lean on your network of people that you trust. There's just too many players out there for everyone to see everybody. And the longer you're staying coaching, the more you want to get your type of player. And the longer you're around people like you, Nick, you know exactly what we're looking for, what fits what we're trying to do versus maybe what St. John's is looking for. And it's different. It's different at every school. It's different with every coach. If you look at the players we bring in, it's usually a big chunk of guys come from the same programs over and over that we recruit from. And that's, I guess, by design, because I go with the people I trust in my recruiting network that I've built since I've started coaching. It's really – and once someone steers you the wrong way, it's really hard to get back in that group with me. And, for instance, you're someone that's never steered me wrong about a player. So that is kind of how it works for the guys on the call here. We got to talk to your coach and learn a lot about you before we can even open up that line of communication, because there's much more to this, and there's much more to recruiting than the results. Like you were saying before, oh, I got 4 hits, everyone should recruit me. There's a lot more to it than getting base hits or striking people out or lighting up a radar gun or having exit velocity. Those are great, but the only way we're going to get to know the player, and if he's going to fit into what we're trying to do, is to talk to the people that are around him every day. And that's going to be his parents, who are going to have a little bit of a biased opinion, and then it's going to be his coaches. And that's why I go to the people I trust, because I can't go to a coach who's only going to give me positives. It's not going to tell me the negatives also. And that's why I got to go to someone like you, various programs that we deal with, is because they'll give us the lowdown. So that's where it starts. And then the reason they might see you talking to a player more or a coach more is you're further along down the line with that player than you are with maybe they are. So my advice to the player is just do your job, stay with what you're trying to do. And when the time comes for you, I'm sure Coach DeFendis is going to do whatever he can for you, but he's not going to lie for you. So you got to put out the product that is truthful and that you play the game hard and you do things right every day on and off the field. And then he's going to go out of his way to brag about that. I promise you that. But that is probably where the misconception gets lost as to why you're spending more time with a certain player over another player. Once that player gets noticed, I'm sure you don't care, Nick, who you want all your players to get placed into the right spot for them. So as long as they're doing their job on their end, I'm sure their time will come.
Cool. Thank you for that. So, Darren, what's your end game, kid? Where do you see yourself down the road here in pro ball?
I don't know. It's on my radar. I would love to become a major league coach or a major league manager, get to the big leagues in some way, shape, or form. My playing career ended because of an injury, and the injury happened when I was probably as close to being a major leaguer as I possibly could have been without actually being one. So that's something that has always been in the back of my mind, but it's not something that I actively work towards, because those jobs are not necessarily progression jobs. And what I mean by that is you get drafted, you go from rookie ball to A ball to double A to triple A to the big leagues. The coaching route can be, you could go from rookie ball to the big leagues, or you could be in the minor leagues for 30 years and never even get an interview for a major league job. So one thing that I've learned to do over the years, and this kind of goes back to just when I was with Coach Hill at Rutgers, was to just be really good at whatever the hell we were doing at that time. And by taking that approach at Rutgers, I was in a position to get a job in professional baseball. And then I was a hitting coach where it wasn't even on my radar to be a manager. I was just pumped that I was a hitting coach in pro ball. And I just tried to be a really good hitting coach. And whether I was really good or really bad, after 1 year, I got promoted to manage in rookie ball. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. I'm managing in rookie ball. And so that progression of every single opportunity that I've gotten in the game has been a direct result, not of trying to get that opportunity, but of being good in the opportunity before, whatever my present opportunity was at the time, that kind of set me up to be ready for whenever that next opportunity came. And I think a great example of that is right now I'm responsible for developing outfielders for the Boston Red Sox. I am an infield guy, or that's how up until last year, I always identified myself as an infield guy, and that's where my passion in the game was. But when I got presented with the job, I actually jokingly told my boss, I'm like, hey, he's like, we want you to be our outfielder and base running coordinator. And I said to him, I'm like, dude, you do know that I'm an infield guy, right? And he's like, yeah, but you do realize that you played 8 games professionally in left field and never made an error, so that makes you an expert. So I think it's a great fit. But he actually understood that the skills that I had shown being a hitting coach and being a manager at 3 different levels, I was fully prepared to do a job that I might not have had the experience on my resume, but I had the character traits that would have allowed me to do it. And while I didn't necessarily know what I was getting into, he was absolutely right. And it's been a great experience of just becoming more well-rounded as a baseball person and not solely being just an infield guy.
Cool. That's great. I'd love to see you in the big leagues, sitting on my couch watching TV and say, I know that guy.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. That would
I
be awesome.
appreciate that, Nick.
Anthony Sutter, are you on the call? If you are, can you do me a favor and please unmute yourself?
I'm unmuted.
Hey, bud. I want you to say hello to Mr. Blankmeyer.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Anthony.
How's everything?
All right, buddy. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Feeling really good.
Good. Looking good. Looking good.
Thanks.
Got that nice round head. His boy's gonna be some player, Coach.
I saw him pitch. I saw him already.
Remember the name, Michael
Chip
Sutter.
off the old block. Chip off the old block.
I lost some hair and gained some weight since my playing days.
Oh, that's good. I just wanted you to say hello to Coach
Nice.
Blankmeyer before he hung up. And Michael Sutter, his son is a freshman at St. Joe by the Sea. He's been in our program since he's a little guy. I think he's going to turn into some sort of some really good left-handed pitcher, and he's got the body for it, and he's got the bloodline that his dad has, and his dad was some player. I'm sure Michael will grow up to be a real good player himself. We're going on almost an hour and a half. A lot of questions, a lot of information. You guys have been fantastic. I'd like to ask each one of you to close on a message to our players. Whoever's left, we've got 42 people left on our call. Just a closing message that you'd like to leave them with to try and help them with their game. Start with you, Coach Blankmeyer.
Yeah. First and foremost is be true to yourself. You play the game with passion. Know who you are as a player. Sometimes we fall into the trap of thinking we're something that we're not, but embrace who you are as a player. Be a good teammate, okay, and just play for the love of the game, and then I think the rest of it will take off.
Cool. I think being a good teammate is probably very important because that'll rub off on being a coachable player, being a good kid, and being a good student. It becomes good at you become good at everything. Mike,
Yeah, that's
statement there.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. I mean, obviously working hard, work to get better, but I think that, you know, it's important. The better you are in your academics, the more opportunities that you give yourself, and the more that you can help out your family. You know, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to these guys, and you know, it's, hey, there's a lot of different levels, you know, and a lot of different places that you can play. You have to search what is best fit for you.
Cool. Coach Rob?
Yeah, and first, Nick, thanks for having me on. It's just an honor to be on with Coach Blankmeyer, Hampton, and Darren. These are guys I've looked up to my whole career, so even being in the same breath as these guys is an honor to me. But for your guys, I'd say just play the game because you love the game. I know we get lost in that sometimes. Play the game for the love of it. Play to win. I think we play a lot of games now to get seen and get showcased. Play baseball to win it. Play it as hard as you can. And really just don't worry about what's going on around you. I've seen so many guys get caught up in the, well, this guy's committed here and that guy's going there and this guy's got so much here. Just continue to play the game for you. The right stuff will work out the way it's supposed to work out. You're already in a great organization. You're going to get exposure. Now you just got to go play. And if you put any added pressure on yourself, that's stuff you can't control. Don't worry about it. All you can control is your love of the game and keep playing it hard. And we all get out of this quarantine and we get out on the field. It shouldn't be hard to see who loves the game. We should all be passionate about getting back. I know I'll never complain about being at the Richmond County Park from 7 a.m. till 8 at night anymore. I would love to be there right now. So hopefully we all keep that love past getting out of quarantine. But just remember those things and just play because you love it, not for any other reason.
You just want to come to Richmond County because you know I give you a good lunch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I get that pizza and the lasagna and the chowder. I thought that, I mean, that's the only reason I came on tonight. I thought we were getting a little.
Thought you're going to get fed? That's good. But go ahead, Darren.
Has anybody actually ever complained about going to Richmond County? My God.
Get some good.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed.
So I would echo what Mike Blanky and Rob just said, but I'm going to take this in a little bit of a different direction where right now every single person is in the same position. Big leaguers are sitting at home, unable to play in the same exact way that you guys are. And what you guys are getting a preview of the real world far before hopefully you actually have to experience it. And what I mean by that is you determine your own success. Nobody else. Like, you have people that are going to help you along the line. There are going to be people who push you. But at the end of the day, it's what you're able to do when you don't have those people around, where you don't have your teammates and you don't have your coaches. So the best way to motivate is to be self-motivated, to not have to rely on anybody. The best kind of discipline is to be self-disciplined. The best kind of coaching is self-coaching, where you don't need someone to hold your hand to get better. And all those things are being tested right now. So whether that be baseball or just regular life, when you talk about self-discipline, are you disciplined enough to work out every day or do your homework every day, even though you don't have a teacher teaching you? When it comes to, motivation, even though there's no end in sight, where we don't know when we're getting back out on the field, can you still practice? Can you still work out with that same drive? And all these skills that you're learning in the baseball world during this particular time is going to prepare you so well for when you do graduate college and you do start having a family and you do start having this professional life after baseball, which everybody, you hope it's going to be a long major league career, but that's not reality. So I think if you could learn these skills now to get you through this time, you're going to be that much more prepared to be successful as an individual and as a man down the road when you actually are going to need it.
Cool. Great closing on all four of you. Coach Lopapara.
Yes, but years ago when I was talking to Coach Blankmeyer, I was saying that kids should have an idea of what level they can play at. And you called it a pecking order, which, by the way, I've stolen from you, so if you want to sue me, go ahead. But I always try to tell parents and kids they need to know what level the players can play at. Because you'll have parents saying, oh, I want my kid to go to Clemson, like you go there every day, or the University of Texas or USC, and they don't realize how tough it is to play D1 ball at any level. And I think they need to be realistic on where their son can play, especially the parents. Do you agree with that?
I agree. And the beauty of this thing is it's about playing the game and getting yourself in the right situation. And I think, Nick does a great job with it, and a lot of the organizations do a good job with it. But, by playing and having a good experience with the people that you surround yourself is extremely important. It's extremely important. But everybody's perception of something, they're chasing that dream. Everybody wants to play for the Yankees or whatever. Everybody wants to go to North Carolina or USC. Well, the reality is it just doesn't work that way. Find what's best for you. That's the bottom line. That's the objective of a parent. Sometimes parents don't want to hear it, but you want to play. You want to play this game and enjoy your experience in the college because, quite frankly, it's the best 3 or 4 years of your life.
Well, we've done these Zoom meetings now for the last 6 weeks. We've had Division III coaches on, Division II coaches on. We've had instructors on. We've had D1 guys on, and for all intent and purposes, all the messages have kind of like been all in at the same level, in the same realm of, you want to go someplace where you can play. It's an honor to play at any level of college ball, get a good education. Eventually you're going to be like all five of us, mostly everybody on this call, we all had the aspiration of playing baseball for the rest of our life. After a while, life catches up with us and we all find our way of making a living. So if any parents are on the call, it's great to have very high expectations for your kid, but it's not healthy to smother him with those high expectations because this game is very difficult to play. It's not an easy game to play. There's a lot of failure that goes into playing baseball. And like everybody here said on the call, you need to have fun. If you're not having fun, you lose your confidence, and then the rest of it, everything falls downhill from there. I'm going to unmute the boys. On your way out, boys, I would just like you to say thank you. That's all we really need to do is say thank you to your coaches. Coaches, please stay on the line until everybody's off so I can say goodbye to you.
Mama party.
All right, boys, we hear everything that you're saying, so just a pleasant thank you and a hang up would be real cool.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mac.
Good, Coach. See you later, Coach. Thank you.
Okay, bud. Good job, Darren.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris. Good job, bud. Take care. Good night.
Oh shit, my
Okay,
meeting.
enough.
Here, Michael.
Wait. I gotta take a shit so bad.
Michael.
Michael.